therapy. Sister, let's talk. Get ready for real, raw, and relevant information. We don't hold back. Topics on ministry, life, marriage, and everything in between. So, buckle up, hold on tight. Here are your hostesses, Tara and Melody. Talk therapy. Sister, let's talk.
Hello, hello, hello. It is Tuesday, July the 21st, and it is that time again. It is talk therapy with Tara Stallings.
And Melody Manning.
Thank you guys for tuning in on this Tuesday evening. Before we get started, go ahead and like and share, make a watch party because this topic is going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. Very, very interesting tonight. It's not going to be what you think, but it's going to be interesting. So, but I think if you listen with an open mind, you're gonna learn something. You're gonna learn something, and it may even be thought provoking because here on Talk Therapy we have real, raw, and relevant topics, and you may get anything. you you may get anything on here, but we keep it real, we keep it raw, and we keep it relevant. So let's just dive into it, Melody. Just dive into it tonight. Untangling the entanglement.
Yes, let's talk about it. We've been hearing about it and everything. So tonight we're going to touch on it. We're gonna talk about it a little bit tonight. First thing I want to do is let's start off. Let's talk about what is considered like an entanglement, and we're gonna be talking kind of in reference to Will and Jada's situation. Now, I did do some research on entanglements as far as I'm going to say open relationships, open marriages. And with that, open relationships, open marriages, there are so many different ways that they can be handled, but they do have boundaries, they do have rules in it. And from what I saw in the research that I did, there were two common things in all of the sets of rules. Um, and that is that when you have an open relationship, it is for gratification purposes, not relationship purposes, but gratification purposes, meaning that the other person is not supposed to enter a, a relationship with the person that they choose to be involved with sexually. Um, and also, one of the other common factors in all the different sets of rules is that the other partner must be made aware of who you are engaging with as far as time, who, when, where. And they have to actually approve of it. And then, Tara, I want to say another thing that I kind of found out when doing this, when couples are in open relationships, I'm gonna say couples and married, because some people are in committed relationships, that they are kind of particular as to who they choose for their partner, who they okay for their partner to engage with. Most of them, from what I found in my reading, they choose to go with someone that's a stranger. That way it avoids any awkwardness or anything if you happen to run into them, or something of that sort, end up in the same circles or whatnot. So normally it's somebody that's a stranger. Either one person can approach the other person, or either the couple can seek the other person out for the engagement. But again, everybody usually agrees, both partners agree on the outside person, and then there's no relationship. Now, some of us were talking about how Will, his appearance in the video, the Red Table interview or not, because I was like, did he not know about this? But the main thing, even if they do have an open relationship, and no, we don't know the particulars of their um, open relationship, or we don't know it as far as a fact if they are in an open relationship, is the word relationship between her and August. So it wasn't just a sleeping together thing. They were actually in a relationship. So that could be a problem for him as far as the relationship.
Okay. You know, I'm gonna stay in the road. I'm gonna try to keep this in the road.
Now you can't leave me out here tonight by myself,
I'm
Tasha.
gonna keep it in the road because we gonna untangle this entanglement tonight. And let me just go ahead and give my disclosure because I do not okay or agree with open relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But you do what you do. If that's look, what this that's your business if you're doing it. That's your business. But I do not believe in them. I do not condone them. Because they cause entanglements. Because an open relationship can cause an entanglement. And it just so happened that we see this event that happened with Will Smith, Jada, and August. Um, and not gonna jump ahead. We're gonna keep it moving because we're gonna get on into this. But you have to look at the dangers. You know, Melody, you said you have couples and you have married couples and people that's in committed relationships. But then my question is this: are you really in a committed relationship if you in an open relationship? Even if the open relationship is about satisfaction, isn't your partner supposed to be the one that's satisfying you?
True. That is true. And let me say this. I don't believe in open relationships. But let's be honest. So many of us, so many people are in those type of relationships, whether they know it or whether they do not know it. And and in doing my reading, I had to kind of take myself, my beliefs out of the equation. People do things for different reasons.
Mhm.
Sometimes people, you can love, sometimes people are so in love with a person that they will do whatever they need to do to be with that person. And if it means someone else comes into I'm not going to say relationship because one of the rules is not a relationship. If that person needs to have that sexual intimacy with someone else, then some people are agreeing to that because that old saying is what, to have a piece of a man or a piece of a woman is better than none. Some people actually believe that. And with there being a shortage of men, a lot of women these days are going more for it because at that point, there's a difference between the man going out and sleeping with another woman because, and I'm just saying men because I'm a woman, sleeping with another woman and you don't know who he's sleeping with, you don't know the terms, the arrangements, or anything. At this point, it does give that other person kind of a little bit of knowledge of what may be going on with their partner.
Okay.
Now, with women, that to me could be a double-edged sword because we're emotional creatures. So, some women, they can't they can't separate the emotions from the sexual act. Some can, and I always say, if you got that type of woman, if you're a male and you're dealing with a woman who can totally separate the sexual from the emotional side of her, you better run.
Run
And
fast.
that
Run
and
fast.
that could be a
Run
dangerous,
far. Run
that
far.
could be a dangerous woman because there is something going on that she's able to fully detach herself. Um, But that's one of the things. And that what brought me to that is because I did go back and I listened to some of the old interviews that Will Smith did. And in one interview, he did, he talked about himself. And this is a little bit off what we had planned for tonight, but I want to share this to shed a little light on Will Smith. He did an interview and he talked about his father.
Mm-hmm.
He had, he has, or had, supposedly, according to him, some issues with the way his father walked out. He did not want to be in that light of feeling like he was a failure. So even in his first marriage, when he left that marriage, because he said he felt like he wasn't ready to be a father, even with him walking out of that relationship, he said he felt like a failure. So I can see, and again, we don't know all the particulars of their relationship. I can see even if the openness is a Jada idea, we don't even know that. But if it is, I could see him going along with it. I could see him being, what is it they said at the end of the Red Table interview? Bad relationship, whatever, we in it, because he doesn't want to feel like a failure again. So if to keep from feeling like that failure, I'm not gonna leave this relationship. Whatever it brings, I'm gonna stay in it because I'm determined that I'm not going to feel like I'm a failure by leaving out of this relationship. So I understand his stance on that. But one of the main things that I really, really want us to talk about tonight is, you know, really not so much their relationship. I kind of want to talk about Jada on tonight because, as I expressed to you, I have some concerns with her behavior. Because what we've got to realize in today's society, and let's be honest, if it had been a man that did this to a younger woman, we would have crucified that man. We would have nailed him to the wall about everything that was going on and what he did. And he took advantage of that girl or whatnot. Being a single man or being a married man, we would have nailed him to the wall. I see a lot of people are saying, hey, Jada just did what men have been doing all along. And the men can't handle it. True, men don't handle well when
They're
their
not
when their
they're not
female
created
partner,
to. They're not
you know,
integrated. They're
yeah,
not created to.
yeah, they can't handle it. They can be sleeping with everybody, be total community property,
Yeah.
but they can't handle the thought.
Mm-mm.
Even some men can't even handle just the thought
That's
of their woman being with another man.
exactly.
And let's be honest. I know it probably took everything in Will to sit at that red table when she made the comment. I just wanted to feel good.
Mm.
That's basically one of the, that's a deep slap to a man to say, I just wanted to feel good again. I haven't felt good in a long time. So not only was he on there dealing with that, I know his ego took a real big hit when she said that. But my main concern again is this woman had a young man that came to her with an issue. She knew he had an issue. And I would feel this way even if he was her age, because she knew he was there for her to be his confidant, to be his healer, to be his rock and stuff. And I can't understand how she went from, because basically to me when I look at it, it's almost like a mother role. How you go from a mother role to sleeping with this person and you know they have issues. That's my main thing. You know he's not in a good place mentally, and you sleep with him simply because you said you just wanted to feel good.
Mhm. Yeah. Now, we're gonna dive a little deep into that because we want to look at this from, all aspects. If and let's just talk about that a little bit more. If Jada violated this child, we say, oh, he is an adult. Well, this supposedly happened 4 or 5 years ago. He was in his early 20s. This lady, she has a child. his age. She took advantage of him for whatever reason. And if you listen to, whatever he's talking about, that Will knew all of this. Will was okay with his wife sleeping with him sleeping with his wife. But at the same time, I totally agree. Let's look at this from a Jada said that he was in a bad place. He was hurting. He had some emotional issues with his mom. He had some drug issues. He had a lot of issues going on. And she took advantage of this young man, young boy. And in our society, it is kind of like a pat on the back for a younger man to be with an older woman. Well, a younger child to be with an older woman. You got someone in their late teens or early 20s, and you have an older woman. That's a male's fantasy. That's a fantasy. And her being a icon in many of the young men lives, that was a fantasy come true for him. And sex is just not, even though you can separate it, because women tend to be more emotional, but when you have a young male, and just like men can be manipulative, women can definitely be manipulative when it comes to sex, and you're dealing with an age gap, and that it's not only sex. Then you have affected him emotionally, psychologically, and also spiritually. So it's just not, it was just a relationship. This young man expressed, and we're just using this because this is on a hot topic, but this happens every day. It happens every day because someone wants to feel good. Some female wants to feel good. So they will use someone, a younger man, for their sexual purposes and manipulate them. Like I said, that's a pat on the back from men looking at that. But if we flip it around, it's molestation, and he raped and he molested her. If she's 24 and he's 50 or 23 and her mind is, messed up because of she has experienced emotional, psychological, and spiritual damage, then woe is he. Why not woe is Jada? It should be woe on Jada, because when you're in a position, of influence, because Will and Jada have placed themselves in a position of influence for many, not young people, but people of color and non-color. They have placed themselves as a position of influence, and to live a lie, and to portray one thing, but actually, you're saying one thing, but you're living something else. That's detrimental to some people that's looking up to them as icons. Now, we know we should never look up to people as icons, especially when we know nothing about them. Because what we know about any entertainer, whether in the movie business or any type of entertainment business, what we know is what the media tells us, or what is written in a tabloid. And I've learned a long time ago, what we used to learn: believe none of what you see and half of what you heard, because people can tell you anything. They can tell you anything, but you being an icon, being an influencer, having so much impact, that you have on, youth, on people, watching you grow and live. And they having a perception of what type of person you are. Because unfortunately, we have people that live their lives through the singers and the entertainers that they watch. They emulate this stuff. They become one with the person. And if you're going to be in that position, you have to be very careful what you do, how you do it, and how things are perceived in your life. And I'm a big believer. I believe in integrity. If you're not living it, keep your mouth closed. Don't talk about something you're not living, because you're going to get showed out. It's going, what old people used to say, oh, what's done in the dark is going to show in the light. And what has happened is, now I'm having a hot flash. I got a fan. So you have to be very careful. So I am, because I've listened to a lot of people. Oh, they wouldn't do such things. These people are lying on them. You don't know those people. You know nothing about these people. It's entertainment. It's entertainment. And we gravitate to things and we make it a reality, when in actuality, one, they're just people like we are. They have flaws. But when you're placed in the positions of influence, you need to be able to have integrity about yourself and be able to live out what you are giving out or portraying to the public. Now, I have always said, and I'm going to keep saying, I've always had that side eye look at Will and Jada, because I watch how they raise their kids. Always going to be a problem. Always going to be a problem. I understand about money, but I don't care how much money you have. We still have a real life. And the song Biggie used to say, more money, more problems. More money, more problems. So we have to be very careful when we step into that arena. We have to be very careful when we step into that arena, because it can be detrimental. Because, like you said, you have people that's, they're clapping on. She just did what men been doing all along. So now you're gonna have women that's gonna follow even more in those steps. You have men that were looking up to her as a classy woman. That can be emotionally devastating to them and start a downward spiral on how they view women in general. So it's so many ways that we can look at this and take it, because, again, I see it the way you see it. Nobody's addressing the issue that Jada violated this young man in a time when he was at his lowest. I don't care if it was sex or it was consensual sex. You were in a place of, she said, to help. Now, unless he was having some sexual problems with his sexual performance, that shouldn't have been going on, because she's not a sex, and she has a degree as a sex therapist. That should not have been going on. And sex therapists don't have sex with the client. So we have to look at it for, let's look at it for what it is. Because you have people, they look up to stars, entertainment. They look up to them. And you have people that emulate, they live their lives off of what's going on. Let's look, we look here in Augusta. We got a Love and Hip Hop Augusta. People want to see, they want to be who they see on television. So we really have to be careful. I think we have to be careful. And I know you downloaded the lyrics to this song. So I want to kind of dive into it because I want to go, because I watched the interview. Yep. I watched the interview, and Will did look distraught. But by the end of that interview, and they talking about bad marriage for life, I said that was a show, that was entertainment. What checked off for me to kind of help me validate what I was already assuming, because I still don't know because I'm not there, when this young man dropped his single that just happened to be called Entanglement. And Jada happened to say, it was an entanglement. I don't believe in coincidence. I don't believe. Now, I believe in those lyrics that he told what was going on. He was in a matrix that he couldn't get out of. And if anybody that's listening and they have been in an entanglement sexually, it can be a matrix for you. It can be a matrix for you. Go ahead.
And let's be honest, entanglements are nothing new. And the word may seem new for 2020, but entanglements have been around for years and years and years. Because we all know a family member or a friend or whatnot, where women have basically shared a man and were aware of each other. Mm-hmm. That's an entanglement,
Yes.
So it's nothing new. I do want to stress this because I don't want anybody to get him screwed. We're not saying that what Jada did, because there's a term for it, cougar, because she was a cougar in that instance.
I don't even know she was a cougar. She was just trifling.
There are cougars. I'm gonna say this: an older woman, younger man relationship, I don't see anything wrong with it. But what I do have an issue with, again, what we're talking about, is when you're dealing with someone when you know that they are not in a good place mentally. Mm-hmm. So when you're not in a good, sound place mentally, you make decisions that you may not necessarily normally make. And the fact that she was totally aware that that was his issue. It's not like she assumed or anything. She knew, because that's how the introduction came about. Mm-hmm. So I did want to make that clear about it.
But she wasn't in a good space, because for a person to do that, they cannot be in a good mental state. She's not in a good space.
She did say that at the red table, that she needed to heal also. And then that kind of goes back to what we were talking about, I think week before last, that people are wanting to call themselves different things and take on different things. Because another thing I had a problem with is she did this interview with Will at the red table. When most people think about the red table, because they're watching her, she's known for it. It is her show. The red table usually is a place of healing. But when you're at the red table, and to me, when you fully want to acknowledge what you've done, you can't heal from it. And the reason I can say that and I can feel that way is because she said entanglement. She wouldn't call it for what it was. Mm-hmm. Because what it was an actual affair that they had. She chose the word entanglement. So to me, that makes me think, this is not Melody. This is outside, of myself. You have to look at some stuff outside of yourself. Your personal feelings about it is that you haven't fully acknowledged what it was. That's just like, you looking at a drug addict and they getting high 4 or 5 times a day, and they say, well, I'm kind of a drug addict because I don't get high 10 times a day. So I don't consider I'm a drug addict. She hasn't fully acknowledged. So you can't heal from something that you won't acknowledge or take responsibility for.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the issues with, what I had. Because, again, there's nothing wrong with being a cougar. I, I get approached by younger men all the time. Tara, I'm pretty sure you get approached by younger men all the
Too
time.
much.
But what I have an issue with is she knew his mental state. If she had been a doctor, a licensed therapist, or anything, her license and everything would be on the line at this point.
Yeah, it definitely would. She would be crucified, basically. And we're not looking at that. We are overlooking and let's untangle this thing. Let's untangle it because I just want to. Our society has gotten to a point, I believe,
Where anything goes.
anything we accept anything. We accept it all if well, and you look, and let me say this. That's your life. You can do what you want to do. You know that song, it's your thing, do what you want to do. Go ahead. The danger in doing what you want to do are the repercussions. Because when you get into an entanglement, you get intertwined in something that may destroy you. Not just physically, emotionally, but also spiritually. So we have to understand, we have just got whatever. We just whatever, whatever. We just take it. And we gravitate to whatever, a little bit here, a little. Nobody has any standards anymore. Everybody has dropped their standards to blend in and to be normal or to fit in or create their new normalcy when it's detrimental to the people around them. Because I listened to the young man's interview and the man looks like he needs some therapy, some psychological help. He
Right
needs
now.
a psychotherapist. The young man needs a psychotherapist. He said, listen, let me tell y'all something, what I know. And I'm going to keep it in the road, Mayor. When these people write these songs, they're not just writing these songs just because. Now, you do have people that write songs for you. But a lot of this music, if you listen to it, they are telling you their life story. I like me some Jill Scott. I like me some Jill. I can't listen to Jill because Jill is very sensual. So if you listen to Jill songs and you try not to fornicate, you get into it. If you try not to be in an entanglement, you can't listen to Jill songs because Jill tell you some things about her sex life that make you want to dial up numbers. So I don't listen to Jill, but I like Jill. I just have to listen to the hook and cut it off. Let's cut this off. But I can't listen to that because I'm not gonna get into an entanglement. Period. Period.
And I laugh, y'all, because she's telling the truth. Because I'm a Jill Scott fan.
I like me some Jill. I do.
And when I'm riding, she'll be like, "Oh, you listening to that Jill Scott?" I
listen to it. Can't do it. Will not. And I got all Jill CDs over here. I don't put them in. Don't put them in. But you have to be able to understand. Listen, you cannot allow yourself. You got to have a standard. You have to have a standard. I kind of talked about this, but let's go back to this standard. Then you have to have a standard, and we have just got whatever goes, we gravitate to it. And I'm not just talking about the sex, the entanglement, everything. Whatever something sound good, 2 or 3 people say they do it. The next thing I see them, they want to do it. Everybody gravitate to the new thing. Come on, people. When we gonna think for ourselves? When we gonna have a standard that we stand on? If you're gonna be in a marriage is a commitment between two people. 1, 2. Now I hear people say, well, that's not the definition of our marriage. Well, okay, well, wait a minute. Because I see people, they go and get married, and they stand before God for the blessing of their marriage. But you can't call it a marriage for God, under God, and have God bless it if it's not sanctioned under what he called is a marriage. You can't do that. You can't do that. That's just like going to South Carolina trying to get a marriage license and you living in Georgia. They're not gonna give it to you. You can go and go through the ritual, but it's not gonna be a binding contract because you in a different state. So we have to get back to some standards. We got to untangle all these entanglements that we are into and thinking it's okay. Whether you're married, whether you're dating, look, yeah, you do what you want to do. That's fine. That's your business. But when you get into the entanglement part of it, because everything gonna start out good, and then the entanglement, you're gonna get intertwined. Because I don't care who you are, I don't care. When you start the matrix, like the young man said, he got caught up in the matrix. Let me tell you something. When you start having sex, it's a matrix. It's a matrix. It's a matrix that you get yourself entangled into. And when you start having sex with somebody else's wife or somebody else's husband, let me tell you something. Whether you say we swinging or not, it's a setup for destruction. It's a setup for destruction. Set up for it. And we have to look at things for what they really are. Do what you want to do, but are you willing to reap the repercussions of your decisions? I know that we talked about Monique. Monique, the comedian. She was like, well, her and her husband are in a dating, and it was her idea. It was her idea. Why get married if you want to share yourself with somebody else? And this just me, y'all, because I'm selfish. I'm selfish. If I'm in a marriage, I'm not sharing you knowingly. Not if I want you. If I love you. Now, if I don't love you, I don't care what you do.
Don't care what you do.
I don't care what you do. But if I love you, no, I'm not sharing you knowingly. No, that's not going to work for me. Because that entanglement going to cause somebody to get entangled in some blood.
That's an example of those entanglements that you may not be aware of, and those are more common than what we admit or whatnot. You do have men that are sleeping with more than one woman, and all of that. So that's why I said we're so quick to harp on the entanglements, but entanglements have been around for a very long time. But what you're finding now is that more people are agreeing to be in these situations.
And why do you think that is, Belle? Why do you think people are agreeing to be in these entanglements?
It can be a lot of reasons. It can be for you may have people that have been hurt in the past, or people who feel like they just can't find a partner. They may not feel like they're worthy of being able to have a partner that's only for them. Um, women women can also be affected by the fact that there are a shortage of black men, and a lot of black men, they'll tell you these days, what, hey, I can find y'all anywhere, because they know that there's a shortage of them. So then they've got a wide variety of women to pick from, and the crazy part of it is, hey, they'll let you know these days, hey, you ain't got to act right, and you ain't got to do right, because you know what, it's another one over there waiting on you.
So when,
So
so when
those
does it
type
come,
of things.
so when does it come the responsibility of the female to stand up and create standards for themselves? Or is
Well,
it
see,
just, I just want some thighs and some muscles in my bed?
and that's on the individual person, because I'm pretty sure you can have some open relationships at one point. One of the partners are going to grow and say, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. So then what happens to that relationship? you know or it Those are the type of things that you got to be willing to have that discussion with your partner about, because as I was watching those interviews, Jada, she made a comment in one of the interviews that they don't have an open relationship, they have a grown relationship.
Mm.
And whether we like it or not, people at times make conscious decisions
Yes, they
to
do.
take part in something. So I can see one partner saying, you know what, hey, I don't want to do this no more. I'm past this, I'm over with it. But the thing is, can both partners come together at that time and say, well, hey, we don't need to do this anymore. Let's stop this. We're done with this. It's going to be me and you, and that's it. Are you able to have that grown conversation? Are you able to make that grown decision and stick to it? Again, me personally, I have a problem with it from day one. But let's be
Let me ask you
realistic.
a question.
Everybody, is a little different. Everybody's doing what they want to do these days.
Let me ask you a question, and we have a question. Somebody made a statement on a comment. Let me ask a question. When if, let's just say if, you're in an agreement in a marriage that, okay, we're gonna have, you know, other relationships or other physical sexual activities with other people, and then you come in and say, hey, one or more partners, or you collectively agree, we're not going to do this anymore, we're not going to do this anymore, okay? But now you have 20, 30 partners or more that the both of you have been with during your relationship. How is that going to affect the now new normal? Because now it's new normal.
I can
How is
see it
that
being a
going
big
to affect?
adjustment.
How is that going to affect the person psychologically? Because if you're used to having sex with other people, whether it's you can separate the sex from relationship or not, you can't separate the experiences.
Hmm.
You can separate, okay, I don't have to put my feelings into it. But what you can't separate is the experiences that happen. And you're not going to separate the memory of those experiences. Because we all know, because I ain't always loved Jesus. I ain't always loved Jesus. And when I loved Jesus, I still was doing some stuff I ain't had no business doing. Let me keep it real. But let me say this. You can, even now, I can remember somebody can say something. I can hear Jill sing a song, and it'll take me back to a situation when I was entangled in some things. So how is it that when you're a couple, you're married, and we say, hey, we're going to do this thing differently. We're going to stop. The danger is those experiences and those memories. Because you may be in a situation with y'all in a committed relationship, and he may say something, or he may kiss you, or she may stroke you the right way, and it bring a memory of Linda when she did it in 1947, or it might bring up a memory of Bob when he did it in 1979, and you say, oh, I think I want to try that again. I wonder what Linda doing. I wonder what Bob doing. That can be detrimental, or you slip up and you call the wrong name. See, these entanglements, it's a matrix. It's a web of destruction that we can't see while we in the entanglement. We can't see all of that. I'm gonna add, let me before you answer, I'm gonna have to put my glasses on to read this. We have a statement. It says a marriage is an agreement contract between two people married. So if they want to have open relationships with others, they have to agree to do so. I don't feel like we should judge how they live their lives. What works for one couple may not work for another. It's like telling them how their home should run. What works for the Jones? That's true, and we said that earlier. Yes, we said that earlier. We're not judging. You do what you want to do. I don't. I always tell. I don't care what you do. What's between your legs? I don't worry about what's going on between mine. As old people say, I don't care. And we're just using those statements. There's one more. I got another. It says, if you want to be with the other people, someone said, if you want to be with other people, why get married? We're not judging. We're not here. I'm not here, or Melanie's not here. We're not judging. We're just discussing. No, we don't. I through my disclaimer, I don't believe in open relationships. But if that's what you're doing, that's what you're doing. We're talking about the after effect of these open relationships, the after effects of the entanglements.
And I did say, because one thing is the position that we are both in. When we look at situations,
True.
We have to take ourselves outside of it. We have to take our beliefs outside of it sometimes. We have to take our personal thoughts outside of it sometimes, because it's not about how we feel. So when I'm talking about Jada and the issue that I have with her in the August situation, is because I'm not looking at it like, okay, she's a woman, she's a cougar. Hey, he was consensual. I'm looking at it to the fact of, you are basically with your show. You're in a place of authority. You're sitting at that table. Your job is to help people heal. You had someone come to you for healing, for that main purpose of healing, because they were not in a good space. You knew they were not in a good space. Now, if August had been in a good space mentally, not on drugs or whatnot, and they slept together, then I would have a whole different stance about it. But when you know somebody is not in a good mental space, to me, that's predatory.
Exactly. And that's all we were saying. I don't want to cut you off, but someone said, and this is so true. A lot of people get married, and it's not a sacred covenant to them. It's an agreement. It's really just a contract. And if you heard Will and Jada, they made a commitment. It's a contract with them. And you have people every day. They get married not for love. They get married for financial stability, or for business partners, for whatever reason. And we're definitely not judging. We're, again, what Mel was saying, and I totally agree. We're looking at it because, see, I have sons. Melody has a son, and I believe, and I had this conversation with my ex-husband years ago with my son, and I don't know what was going on, but I think we were watching a movie or something, and it was something like this: a younger boy, 25-year-old woman, and he was like, "Well, I don't see what's wrong with a 16-year-old having a relationship with the older woman, this, and this." And I was like, because now in my studies, that's normal. That's a normal outlook for older men, younger woman, and then you even have even today, you have a lot of younger men that marry older women still today. But that becomes a fantasy for them. So I had the conversation with him. I was like, well, let me tell you why I see what the problem can be, because I'm a woman. And if you have a younger, now that this time my son was 16, 15, 16. And he wasn't, it was just, we was using this scenario. Same thing with Jada and this young man here, even though he was an adult, he was too young and he was broken. He was in a broken state. So as a female, when you have my argument with him, with my son, was when we talked, because he didn't see anything wrong with, and as though a lot of men, a lot of men and women don't see anything wrong with. Let me say that, because I don't want to just say men and women. My argument was this: if you have a 15, 16-year-old young man and you have a 25-year-old woman that's living on her own, that's having sex with a 15, 16-year-old that lives in her own place, that's established, and they're engaging in entanglements, and she's way more experienced. He's very non-experienced. She's gonna teach him and expose him to some things that in his 15, 16-year-old mind, I'm an adult now. Because I got a 25-year-old woman, and she gonna treat him like an adult. So as a parent, I won't have any leverage in trying to influence my child at this time, because one, he ain't hearing what mama got to say, because what that woman over there giving him, mama ain't giving. And mama just talking jibber jabber. And what she doing over there is making me feel good. So guess what? She can influence him to do anything at that time. She can mold him and influence him to do anything, legal or illegal, and cause detriment to be in his life. The same thing with the older man and a younger woman. Same thing. So we have to look at it from not just, oh, they grown, they can make decisions. When you're dealing with people that's in a hurt state, when you're dealing with a person that's supposed to be in an influential role in a person's life, and they take advantage of it, that can be detrimental to people. And that's all that we were talking, that's kind of what we were addressing. Yeah, it's statutory rape. It is. So that's kind of where we were coming back about this untangling the entanglement, because we have yet to hear anyone talk about Jada violating this young man, even though he was an adult and it was consensual. He said and she said out of their mouths, he was in a psychological down spiral, mental down spiral. He was in a hurt place. She was in a bad space. So why? And he was your son's friend. Your son's friend.
I think if they wanted to do the red table properly,
they should have had everybody there.
I think everybody should have been at the table.
Everybody should have been there.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure the son had some issues or still dealing with some issues, because there were a lot of relationships affected, not just Will and Jada or not just Jada and August, this was her son's friend, so he's affected by it also. And then also, we got to look at the fact she's got a daughter. So, that all of them should have been at the red table.
Everybody. Can
And
you
she should have been,
imagine coming home
yeah,
and seeing your friend sleeping with your child, with your son, even though he grown? Can you imagine opening the door and your friend butt up in the air, and that's your son? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Or your son coming home to see you in a compromising position with his friend. No, that's it. All that type of entanglement destroys all kinds of relationships. Listen, we people have the right to do what they want to do. I don't care, but we gotta look at how it affects every party that's involved now and in the future. Because we about sex, the first thing we thinking about is we ain't thinking about who is hurting. We think about how it's. Jada said, I wanted to feel good. You not having sex over and over with the same person if they not making you feel good. And let me tell you something about feeling good. Feeling good can get you in an entanglement that later, that boy said if he leaves Earth today,
it's not funny, but yeah.
it's not. But come on, do you? I mean, I don't. Listen. This boy he has been traumatized, not just by the fact that he was, because in his mind he was in a he's still in love with Jada, and he's still in love with Jada, and Will was okay with it. Will knew that they were sleeping around. Will didn't know they was in a relationship.
Yeah, that's
But Will was
he
okay
knew
with them.
about the sex. He didn't
Right.
know that they were in a relationship.
Right.
But one of the biggest things we
From
did
what he
not,
said, because we weren't there. We just going on what he said. We just
one of the biggest things
personally, I think Will knew they was in a relationship.
You think so?
I think Will knew that they was in a relationship. All them pictures they done took. Let me tell you something. And then the song said entanglement. They knew what was going on. They knew the single was gonna drop. Entanglement, and it's got a little beat to it. Let me tell you something. So I just, we're gonna get into that because we gonna get into that. We're gonna keep it in the road tonight. I'm gonna keep it.
Another thing, one of the big things we did not, hit on also is August had been a victim of molestation as well.
Yes.
We didn't hit on that. And that's also a major thing with this whole dynamic to me, is that those victims usually deal with those issues for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to get over, that when it happens to you. So
Yes.
that's why I can almost say I feel like Jada is a predator. Like I said, had he been in a good space, I would have been like, "Well, power to you, Jada. You was able to pull a youngin', But the boy was not in a good space, and she knew he was not in a good space.
She violated. To me, it was violation on so many different levels, not just the sex, but she violated so many different. To me, she violated so many different codes, contracts, relationships, not just the sex. Because if that's what her and Will do, that's what they do. And I honestly, and this just me, and I may be wrong, and nobody cares, but my opinion. I think that was all they already knew. It was part of what happens in Hollywood, because we saw the same thing happen with so many different people in the entertainment business. It's a big scandal, and the next thing, everybody blow up even higher. They got a CD about it. They got a whole 12 tracks about what was going on. The first song was about this. Now the song name Entanglement, and Will said describe what entanglement was, and the boy came back and said it in the song. I just don't believe it's a coincidence. I just don't. But I'm not gonna go into any depthness on that tonight because Facebook will probably shut me down. But go on there. And I might be over too many people head, but we ain't gonna go on that tonight. From what I know with the entertainment world. But that's stuff because that's not what we're talking about. We're trying to untangle this. Because it's gonna be some people out, because we got all these memes and these mimes and these t-shirts, and it's funny, and all this stuff on Facebook and the songs on the entanglement. Let me tell y'all something. It's gonna be some people that's gonna end up losing their lives over these entanglements. Gonna be some people that get hurt emotionally over these entanglements. These entanglements are webs of deception. The entanglements can cause your life, not your physical life, your spiritual life. You gotta watch those entanglements. Entanglement is a matrix that keep you in a conundrum. So sex, one thing I know about sex, and two, what I used to say, one thing I know and two for sure. Let me tell you something. Sex is a web that is hard to get out of. It's a web that's hard to get out of. And Jada said herself, she wanted to feel good. She probably started off just, here and there. But that song said they was walking down the hallway. They weren't having no conversation, and they was having sex. Nobody's talking. So it was all about sex. That she done blew that boy. That shit. The boy is having it's trauma. Can you? He's listen, Linda. Listen. You got to be careful because it's a lot of deception going on. We can't always go on what we see and what we hear and what we feel and what we desire, because those things are in our emotions and they trick us. They trick us all the time. So we really have to be careful. And if you're going to be in a position of influence, and I'm going to give it a male. If you're in a position of influence and you're not ready to take on the responsibility of that position, rethink it. Now, and I say that because you have people say, well, this is my influence, because you have people that, it's totally okay, which if that's what you're doing. But think about the whole picture. You have to think about the entire picture. Just because it's okay with you in your situation. Think about how it can affect people that it's not okay with. That's not in good spaces. Because people can say they're in a good space today and they're really not in a good space. And this can destroy a person. Melody?
Yeah.
I did good, ma'am. I kept it in the road.
She really did.
I did good
because
I
did good from some of the things that we had talked about, because really we can't go there because Facebook would really shut us down.
Down.
So she did very well with that. But we touched on a lot tonight, and it's just our opinions on different things. We're not here to judge anybody, because whatever works for you works for you. And I always say, if you like it, I love it.
That's right.
Because it's just that it's your business. It's your business what you do.
That's
But one of my main concerns too is um, looking at her position, and it goes a little bit further than just being a person in entertainment, and how we can take things and turn it around where it's okay. Because if it had been a man that done this to a younger woman, we would have nailed him to the wall. So we just wanted to give you all something to think about with this, because we are seeing it a lot, and I think it's going to be here for a minute, because I haven't really looked at the whole list of his new work, which is State of Emergency, and I think that's enough in itself
Come on.
in that title. So I think it's going to be here for a minute. But
that's the word. Look, I think that's going to be the word for the rest of 2020. Entanglement. Oh my gosh. That's going to be the word.
2020 has brought some very different and new things to us. So,
yes.
But we're glad that you all took the time to listen to us tonight, and just look and think about some things. Even you may be in a situation as far as having to make a decision. And if that's what you want to do, really take the time to think about what you're choosing to do, because there are so many other factors that can come into play, for a person.
Yes.
But I think that's it for tonight, Tara.
That is it for tonight. Listen, if you in an entanglement and you want to be untangled, you can give me a call. I'm serious. I'm laughing and I'm joking because I like to laugh. I like to laugh. But some people are in entanglements and they don't know how to get out of them. They're entangled not just in the sexual part, but they're entangled in some things that are occultic. They're entangled in their mind and their way of thinking. If you're in an entanglement and you are ready to get out, or you wanting to get out, you want to be untangled, contact me, contact Melody. We are here. If you don't even want to contact us, contact a professional. Or if you know me and you don't want to disclose, I can recommend you to some people that can help. If it's a spiritual entanglement, look, inbox us. We can help you, because this is the time to be untangled from any entanglement that you have. This is the time if you're entangled in your mind, if you're entangled in your spirit, if you're entangled in situations, it could be your finances, whatever, and you're ready to unravel and untangle the web, the matrix that you're in, give us a call. If we can't help you, we can lead you into the right direction. Until next Tuesday. Until next Tuesday. This has been Let's Talk Therapy.
Thank you so much for joining us. Come back next week for more real, raw, and relevant information here at Talk Therapy. Sister, let's talk.